Okay, so Keith Lindgren is going to talk about riding a two-wheeler versus a three-wheeler. And I guess it could kind of be a me. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Looks like he's got a good presentation.
Well, thanks. I hope so. Let me. All right, now.
Ow.
I've been thinking about this for the dog.
Okay, let's see if this can go. First of all, this presentation is not, I'm not any set amount of time. So if you've got questions, jump in there and ask them, please. I just started a slide to make sure I was up and running, just showing the four different logos that we're supposed to be voting on. So, but let's start off with a little background history on me. I am currently retired. Grew up in Wisconsin, graduated high school back in '63, and I attended one semester of college at the University of Wisconsin. I got straight A's in hell raising, beer drinking, and party going. Didn't do too well in any of the others. So my dad gave me an option. I could go in the military or I could go to work, live at home, but I would pay rent and I would live by dad's rule. Well, that didn't sound too good, but Marine Corps sounded pretty good. So I joined the Corps. I served 5 years, including 14 months in Vietnam. Released from active duty. By that time, I was ready to go to college. So I went back to University of Wisconsin, graduated in '74, moved to DC and went to work for the VA. Did that for a couple years. I got a job offer in Virginia Beach in '76, and I moved down there, and we've lived in Hampton Roads ever since. My first wife and I were married after I returned from Vietnam in '69, and we're divorced. Married my second wife in '77, and we'll celebrate 42 wedding anniversary next month. I have 7 children, 2 of which have passed, 22 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren, and 2 more are on the way. I've been fortunate to be Santa Claus for the last 26 years. Carol joined me as Mrs. Claus about 15 years ago. Up until 2017, I was a real bearded Santa. But after my cancer and radiation, I lost the ability to grow a beard on the left side of my face. I still do Santa, but I just have to use a fake beard. I am currently the owner of Tidewater Motorcycle Safety Training. Yeah, I know I said I'm retired, but I do very little. I have good people that do the training for me, so I just sit back and watch them. I am an MSF certified instructor rider coach starting in 1987. I became a chief instructor rider coach trainer in 1999, and I've been a certified sidecar trike instructor since 2004. Now that slide's a little misleading because since 2017, when I went through all my cancer, I have not taught. So I have basically given up my certifications. But as you can see by the dates, I've been teaching for quite a while. That's me on the left in my Santa cycle. And you can see some pictures of some other three-wheelers. Spider up here, and then just a couple sidecar rig, a trike, and a two-wheeler. And, you know, we can talk a little bit about the difference between a three-wheel and a two-wheel. Trike has 3 wheels, sidecar has 3 wheels. So they're very much in common, a lot different than a two-wheeler. And if you've ever gotten on a two-wheeler after having piloted a 3, it's kind of embarrassing. Don't forget to put your foot down. Been there, done that more than once. The big difference between riding a motorcycle and riding a sidecar or a three-wheeler is how you steer. On a two-wheeler, you counter steer by pressing forward on the hand grip, right hand grip to turn right, or press on the left hand grip to turn left. Motorcycle steers by leaning. So you push to make the bike lean. On a three-wheeler, you cannot do that. They don't lean. So you have to use direct steering. Point the front wheel in the direction you want to go. What do you think would happen if you went around a corner too fast on a three-wheeler? Well, you'd lift one of the wheels. And if you do that, is this a picture of a three-wheeler or a two-wheeler? In the three-wheel training, it's what we call reversion. You go back to riding a two-wheeler. So as long as that third wheel is off the ground, you have to ride that motorcycle like a two-wheeler. Three-wheeler steers by direct steering, and it works as long as all three wheels are on the ground. So if you lift it off, you have to go back to riding two wheels. One of the unique advantages of a three-wheel motorcycle is that it doesn't fall down just because one of the tires begins to slide. An example of that is riding on gravel or over-braking or over-accelerating. What happens when a two-wheel motorcycle slides on gravel or on a slippery road? Chances are, unless you're extremely skilled, you're going to meet the pavement. Three-wheeler, that's much less of a disadvantage. But there are situations where losing traction can cause the loss of steering, and other situations where changing traction can precipitate a rollover. And you do have to be concerned about rolling over on a three-wheeler. We'll get into that in a little bit. Traction, what is it? It's the adhesive friction between your tires and the surface of the road. And the more weight you can put on your machine, the more traction you have. So as you're riding along, the weight of you and the weight of the bike gives you traction. One important point to remember is that maximum traction depends on how much weight is pressing down on the tire. There is less traction on the front wheel when you're going uphill. Same thing when you're going downhill. There's less traction on the rear tire. Traction is limited, and that's the key that everybody needs to remember. You can use up traction real quick. On a slippery or a twisted road, we observe traction by following a path of travel or a line that makes the most gradual turn. In other words, you want to try to straighten out the curve as much as possible. And this is really true for both two-wheel or three-wheel. How do you safely corner a line with a wider radius than that of the road? Start on the outside of the curve to increase your line of sight and the effectiveness and the effective radius of the turn. And then as you turn, move toward the inside, and as you pass the center, move back towards the outside. So it's really outside, inside, outside is the best way. And you can see an example of that, starting on the outside of the curve, going to the inside of the curve, and exiting back to the outside of the curve. Is traction the only consideration? When you flatten the radius of a curve, you're doing so by repeatedly changing your lane position. In this case, you can see that the rider has to come to the inside and exit to the outside, like we said, but this is a much tighter curve. You can't do it as the last example showed of coming and making as much of a straight line as possible. So you have to have a flatten out the radius as much as possible, but speed has a lot to do with it. In this kind of a curve, there's no way you can get around that without slowing down. What is a different option? Well, another alternative is simply stay the center of your lane all the way through, before entering the curve and then all the way through the exit. Now, in doing so, there's no, you have to slow down. You have to take the curve at a lot slower speed. Let's talk a little bit about tip overs. On a three-wheeler, you have to be concerned about tipping it over. And there is 3 tip-off lines for each three-wheeler. And you can see here with the sidecar, you have a tip-over line from the front wheel to the sidecar wheel and between the back wheel and the sidecar wheel. So if you're going and lift the sidecar up, you lose that and move that tip-over line to the point where it can come right straight down here and you fall over. And it's basically the same thing whether you're in a three-wheeler, a sidecar, a two-wheeler in the rear, or a two wheels in the front. They all 3 have 3 tip-over lines that you have to be concerned about. And the tip-over lines which connect to form a triangle. In this triangle is where you want to stay, inside the tip-over line. Keeping your wheels on the ground. The best way to ride a three-wheeler is to shift your body weight to the inside of a corner. If you think about driving a car and you're going to make a hard right turn, you lean to the left. Well, that brings that right wheel up. So you need to make sure that you slide your body weight in towards the right side to keep into the inside of the corner, to keep as much weight on and traction, therefore, on that wheel. And you can see a good example here, three-wheeler as front, three-wheeler back, and then the sidecar three-wheeler. Sliding it over to the inside of the turn. When you're on a two-wheeler, as we can see by these racing examples, they throw their leg off and slide their weight down to the inside of the turn. And by doing so, they're putting their weight down here. They can hold the motorcycle up higher, and it gives them more traction. So shifting your body weight not only helps balance the rig in a turn, but it can increase your traction and make steering easier. If you're ever following behind a three-wheeler and you see somebody going back and forth, sliding across the seat, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. Drifting. Now, this is a technique that's used to throttle the brakes and your steering to balance your tire sliding while maintaining directional control. You can literally slide the tires of a three-wheeler through the turn, as long as you're using the throttle, your brakes, and your steering to help balance you. Primarily used in turns to dissipate side loads, keep the rigs on all 3 wheels, keep that center, the weight centered in the middle of that tip-over triangle. In sharp left-hand turns, we can control tip-over by using just enough throttle to cause the rear wheel and sidecar to drift slightly towards the right. Roll on a little throttle, the rig wants to slide to the right. In sharp right-hand turns, rolling on the throttle helps push the motorcycle around the sidecar. It drifts the right tire towards the left and dissipates some of that centrifugal force. Again, the key to this whole thing is to make sure that you are keeping that center of gravity inside those tip-over lines as much as you can. So what can we do to corner more smoothly and safely? You straighten out the corners as much as you can. Try to take it and make it as straight as it will go. Recognize the limits of traction. Everybody has a limit to what they can use, and you've got to know where that limit is so you don't cross it. Keep as much of your weight and the load on inside the tip-over lines. Keep it in that triangle. Shift your body weight towards the inside of the turn. That, again, helps you with that tip-over line and keeps the center of gravity inside the triangle. Learn to use your throttle and brakes. In three-wheel riding, it is extremely safe to use both the brake and the throttle at the same time. You can brake the front brake and while you're rolling on the throttle, and that helps you with that sliding over and using the drifting process. It's a skill you have to learn. It's not something that comes naturally, because we're taught in two-wheeling, you don't roll on the throttle and brake at the same time. You separate them. So it's a little bit different concept, takes a little bit different training, and it is something that you have to be cognizant of when you're riding between, switching between two wheels and three wheels. Just remember what kind of a bike you're on. All right, and don't forget that while we're doing this, we're also trying to plan to keep the corner as straight as possible. Cornering a motorcycle is complex, but practicing and using techniques together is what we need to stay on the road when that turn happens to be a decreasing radius or off-camber killer corner. And here's you can see from the racing skid on a three-wheeler, see how far the passenger leans out. And if they're going the other way, he's practically on top of the back of the rider, trying to keep that weight inside that tip-over line. I love this one. Look at the smile on this guy's face. He is enjoying the ride. Any questions? I know I went through that rather quickly. It's not a real long presentation, but it shows the difference that you have to be cognizant of when going between three wheels and two wheels.
Very cool, Keith. Do you have a dog that you ride with, or was that picture of somebody else's dog?
I'm sorry?
I saw a dog in a sidecar in one of those, which is kind of.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bobo loves it.
Yeah, I had a question for you. Which do you think is the most stable, the Can-Am three-wheeler or like a Harley trike three-wheeler?
For me, I much prefer the Can-Am compared to the Harley or the Honda trike. I like having those two wheels in front of me. The big difference with the Can-Am is that they have sensors in the wheels. So if you try to lift a wheel on a Can-Am, it will automatically slow the vehicle down to keep that wheel on the ground as much as possible. You can bring it up off the ground, but it takes a real expert to do so.
I've also heard that they have some pretty sophisticated suspension on those.
They do. They really do. And that's why I love my Can-Am.
They also implemented electronic stability control by individually manipulating the ABS in each of those wheels.
Correct.
That's a big difference in rollover. It's a big difference in car rollovers too.
And just going back to Keith's triangle, if you think about it from a physics perspective, you have all that mass moving forward. And if you're making any sort of a turn at all, you're playing right into that triangle. If you start to roll, you're going to roll over forward. But having those two wheels out and changing the dynamic of that triangle, it's definitely the rollover dynamic is completely different.
It is. Anybody else?
I think it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I didn't understand the different dynamics.
You don't, unless you actually ride the different, a two-wheeler versus a three-wheeler. I have the Can-Am Spyder. I have, you saw my Santa bike, so I have sidecars. I don't see much difference between those two in what you need to do to ride safely, but the two of those compared to my two-wheelers, there's a marked difference.
Keith, have you ever drifted a three-wheeler for sure, like really drifted a three-wheeler, or is that all theoretical?
No, I definitely have. Not so much on the Can-Am, but I do it quite a bit on my Santa cycle because it doesn't have all the electronic.
Your Can-Am would be a lot harder to drift.
Yes, it would be.
That's kind of a mixed bag of tricks to make that happen.
Now, go ahead, Brian.
No. I was just going to say I drift my Genesis all the time, but it's got 4 wheels. It's a different story entirely.
Well, the Can-Am, I've seen it done. I've seen it bring the front wheel up off the ground by my one of the chief instructors for the 3-wheel course. But he has been riding 3 wheels forever, and he's extremely proficient at it. I'm nowhere near that. Scott, you got to unmute.
Thank you. How many of you drive Can-Ams?
I'm sorry?
So Keith, you've got a Can-Am. Jerry, you've got one?
No, I got just my 2-wheeler. I'm
Anybody else?
contemplating picking up a slingshot.
Yeah. We got to thrash them around a little bit at the last California Motorcycle Safety Instructors meeting last fall. And they'll really howl when you start pushing the limits of the traction control, like in a cone weave or something. It's fun.
I got to ride one, a different type of, out at the SMSA conference in Sacramento.
Oh, that's right. We were talking about yeah.
What really convinced me to buy the Can-Am?
Hey, Scott, can you organize a group trip out to Laguna Seca so we can go watch the motorcycle races?
What's the date that they got coming up for that?
I don't know. I'll look for it for you. That was when I was stationed out there. I used to volunteer to go help for all of those races, and it's mostly because I just wanted to oogle the bikes in the cars.
I've done that a bunch of times with friends, and I used to do that with the local VFW. I think they'd get a bunch of us guys on post out there when you're at DLI. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can help with that.
Keith.
Scott, it looks like it's July 14th is the start of the motorcycle festival at Laguna Seca.
Okay.
Keith, what type of instruction does your company give? Is it mainly on the road or parking lots?
My company is strictly a MSF certified basic rider course, so it's parking lot.
Keith, where do you live? Are you in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm in Chesapeake. I have a training site in Portsmouth and a training site on the Eastern Shore.
I will look that up. I'm getting a bike this summer, and I definitely am going to have to go through a refresher. It'd be good to start from scratch again.
Good.
Keith, did you do 2 and 3-wheel training?
I did. I right now we don't do any 3-wheel at my site, but we have a site in Virginia Beach that does.
Does your Can-Am have that Rotax engine?
Yes.
You happy with it?
I love it. Now, let me say, I love it from the standpoint that I've had it all of 5 months, and 3 of those 5 months I've been in Florida without it. So I really haven't had a lot of experience riding it yet.
Because they're putting those Rotax engines in Chaparral Vortex boats and in the Sea-Doos, and they're quite the performers.
Well, I'm looking forward. I've got our SMSA State Motorcycle Safety Administrators Conference is in Grand Rapids this year, and I'm looking forward to riding on the Spider out to Grand Rapids.
When is that?
That's in September.
Ah. We might have to have a local powwow.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Rory and Judy live close to Grand Rapids there.
Yeah,
so.
we're only 40 minutes from Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
There's another excuse to ride a motorcycle. How about that?
All right.
Kind of depends on when that is, because September is getting filled up with us already. We need to find
I
out.
can tell you real quick.
Keith, did Lee Parks mention that he's talking about 3-wheelers in our courses out here?
I heard that. I did not hear that from him, but okay. I understand that he is looking into that.
Mm-hmm. And furthermore, in the courses out here at the PDW, our professional development workshop, he'd mentioned that for people who two-wheeler somehow wasn't appropriate, he's encouraging them to look at something like the Can-Ams.
Good.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm very prejudiced, having been an instructor for so long. But any kind of training you can get is by far better than not having any at all. Judy, the conference is Wednesday, September 11th through that Sunday.
Okay. When is Bruce's ride? Yeah, Bruce, when's your ride?
What's that? Oh, Bruce.
Bruce, we're not hearing you.
We can't hear you, Bruce.
You can chat to us.
Speak into the mic.
No, not hearing you.
Hey, Keith, I got a question.
Sir.
Do you ever work the Santa suit up at Yankee Candle in Williamsburg?
No, I have not. I don't do a lot of commercials, establishments. I do a lot of private parties and a lot of individuals.
I was looking for a picture of that Santa. I thought it might have been you.
No, it wasn't me. But I have seen
There's more than one Santa?
This is right on the calendar.
Yeah. There's a Santa, and then there's a whole bunch of Santa helpers.
I still have my Santa suit yet too, Keith, although I don't do it very often.
Bruce's ride.
Is yours yellow?
That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
I tell you what, when you get on my Santa cycle, the cell phone cameras come out of cars as you're going down the road.
That was an accident.
Oh, Bruce says the Ontario ride is September 13, 14, and 15.
Right.
Oh, right on my birthday. I gotta go.
Well, Keith, you got to come in a day early and we'll have a beer and then we'll head off to the Ontario ride while you're in conference.
That works. Got to take you out for a ride around the lake with a bottle of wine.
Let's see.
Or if I go slow, it'll be about 3 bottles of wine.
So I'm curious with Amanda, what are you thinking about buying? Boy, she's good with that camera in her car, isn't she?
Yeah.
No, she's not. She shouldn't be messing with it. I'm not sure. I'm kind of back and forth. I had a Sportster, and I fell out of love with it because the reach was too high. I've got super short legs. But with the way they've built them now with the lower seat height, I might look at them again. I don't know. There's so many good options out there right now.
What style are you looking for?
I want a cruiser. And I don't necessarily need I don't need a 1200, right? I'm literally cruising through traffic in Northern Virginia. So
At least
probably don't need anything too fast and zippy because, as Harold pointed out, he'd have to really watch me on the rides. I didn't realize the camera was on when I stuck my tongue out at my son who was driving next to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We saw you.
And the friend in my Jeep is named the Bumble. I have the white Jeep, and the Bumble is my mascot. Yeah, I'm open to any suggestions that anybody's got for a good, we'll call it a beginner's bike because it's been 20 years since I rode.
Ouch.
Hi, Jim.
Can you hear me?
We can.
If you have a slingshot, could you tell me if you liked it? Was it fun? Is it worth going to the trouble to go for a ride?
One of the first guys I ever rode with in an IFMR ride, probably the first one besides Rory, was Bob Gracie. And he's an amazing rider all by himself. I think when he turned 80 was when he bought the Slingshot, was it, Rory?
Yeah.
And he did it because he got worried about tipping that bike as he got older, but he swears by that thing, and he rides it quite well. He typically rides behind all of us, but I watch through the mirror and stuff, and he rides that better than I've seen anybody. Well, then again, you know, Keith, you're probably pretty talented, but I've had a couple of those Can-Ams riding in bikes, rides that I've led, and I've not been impressed how they handle things. But I think that might have been the rider more than the bike. But the Slingshot, I'm actually pretty surprised how well that runs.
Can you
I've
take
not
her off?
ridden one though. I've not had that experience.
Does it also have the Rotax engine?
Nah, it's got a
It has the 2.2 GM Ecotech engine.
yeah.
Can you
A
take
four-
her off-road
a
though?
4-cylinder.
Can you go off-road with them?
No.
What?
Off-road, you know, that's where the pavement ends and the dirt begins. Can you go there?
Only if John's leading.
Yeah, you have to ask John that question.
I don't think Jerry has any issues going off road on anything.
John, I'll have to ride with you.
I don't need this abuse.
You scouted any good mud roads down there in Ohio yet? That next ride?
Look at my title.
They don't really make much in three-wheelers for off-roads, right? Except for maybe a Ural or something.
Actually,
John, GPS is
no, they did.
overrated.
Years ago, they had those three-wheeler off-roads before they had the four-wheel quads.
Oh, those trikes, the ATCs, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a lot of issues with them and major lawsuits over those things flying and tipping.
People running over their feet. I've done it.
You can't find them on the market anymore because of that.
Center of gravity issue with those things.
Do you see that Ural is looking at doing an electric motorcycle with a sidecar?
I heard that.
The Urals they do work off-road very well.
Yeah.
They're pretty rugged bikes. They just can't go very fast.
Harley tries it now and then.
They're macho with a dog in the sidecar, the Ural.
But, you know, Harley's problem is getting a battery big enough to make that noise.
No, you just have a second battery.
So
Second battery,
Keith,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, second battery and a big tape recorder.
Looking at the Slingshot here, it's like that's not going to do real well off-road.
No.
Like center of gravity too low?
Just the clearance is like
Yeah,
nothing
that's
for
the
ground
gravity.
clearance.
Everything's too low.
They're also large enough that parking sometimes is nowhere near as easy as the Can-Am or certainly a regular two-wheeler.
Yeah.
I think my dream on those would be to have one of those with a trailer behind it pulling a dual sport. I might get there someday. We'll see.
That sounds like a why bother proposition to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this. I can go on longer rides. Debbie can drive, and I can sleep until we get there and then go on the dual sport.
Okay. It's a method
That's
to the
the
madness.
thought.
Pull a mobile home
I
behind
haven't
it?
convinced her of that yet.
I have a sticker that's covering up my original gas, the import gas sticker that tells you what type of fuel to put in it. It says, if this motorcycle is on a trailer, it's being stolen. Call 911.
That's cute.
Jerry, it sounds like everybody's bought into your idea except Deb.
Debbie doesn't buy into my ideas very much. Usually it's my idea she challenges it in the first place.
She wasn't real excited about you going to Argentina, that's for sure.
Oh, if I mention that one, that's death.
Is that the one to Tierra del Fuego?
Yeah, somehow she says you can do it in 3 weeks, you can go.
ooh, good luck with that.
That ain't happening. I think 4 months is a minimum.
I think that guy that we heard last week took 2 years.
Yeah, but he stopped for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, he did.
2 months at a time.
Sometimes voluntarily, sometimes not.
Yeah.
You know what you call that first 3 weeks, Jerry, don't you? It's called a foot in the door. That means you got permission. You just need to widen the.
Yeah, keep us posted on how that works.
I did 2 5-week trips this year. She went on the first 2 weeks of the first one, or this past year. And then that 3 weeks wasn't bad. But the second one on the 3-week mark out of the 5, she said, that's enough.
The trick is to get her mad enough at you that she doesn't mind you being gone, but she wants you to come back at the end of that 4 months.
That's my life.
That should be easy.
Very easy.
I tease John a lot, but that's because I'm in the pot stirring, so I don't fall to the bottom of the pot.
Hey,
Yeah,
Keith,
you gotta be careful. They might get too comfortable with you gone.
Think
Gary,
of
is
this.
anybody from back home helping out with Ryla from our group?
From there's a whole bunch of people helping out with Ryla throughout the district.
From our club. I guess that would be you.
You mean the
You helping
Davisburg
out with
Club?
Ryla.
Davisburg
from our
Club's
club.
really shaky right now.
I have seen some Ryla emails from district, but nobody, I don't know any of us that are involved in it at all, except you, maybe, Jerry.
I'm gonna make a decision tonight. I know they're still looking for female counselors to help out because they've got so many girls who are signed up. They need people to stay overnight, but I
You
need
know,
to
they
make a
do
decision
that. They do it over at there's a
Camp Openaconneck.
yeah over in Fenton. It's a super camp. They've been doing it over there for 5
Yeah,
or 6 years.
I actually went to 6th grade camp there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
So you know all the secret hiding places.
I do know all this. I know exactly what trees not to run into with your face in the middle of the night, actually.
I have to
First place
run.
I got-
I'm district trainer this year, and I have to run the district assembly, the club leaders training that same day as one of the days of Ryla. But you let me know if you're going to go over there. I'd come visit.
Yeah, I'll let you know for sure.
And that'd be an awesome thing just to kind of promote that somebody in our club helped. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Should
Well,
you
I
decide
really
to do that?
enjoyed Ryla. Yeah.
Should you decide to do that, just a really brief write-up about your experience would go a long way on the website. That would be super neat.
Yeah, for sure. Jerry invited me to speak 1,000 years ago at Ryla as a former outbound. It was actually really cool to hang out with the kids and hear their stories.
I emceed Ryla. It's been a lot of years now. Hell, it's been probably 12, 13 years ago, but I emceed it for 6 years in a row back then.
I think that, yeah, it was when I came up. That was in, I was pregnant with Maggie, so 2004.
That would have been maybe the last time I led it.
I did that bad, huh? They kicked you out?
They've been bugging. Both they and Youth Exchange have been trying to get me back in the committees. I'm a little bit too extended right now.
Keith, thank you very much. I apologize. I'm going to have to hop off. I got to pick up school supplies for my children, and I'm never going to say no to that because that means they're doing their homework.
Hey, Amanda, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Did the guy that's writing for the Rotarian magazine ever give you a call?
No.
Okay. I gave him about a half a dozen names, so I don't know who he called or not, but they did. A independent person contacted me to check a few facts, which was the first time I've ever had an author do that, but that was really cool. And
I
in
got
my
a call from
understanding, the article's pegged to come out in the June issue of the Rotarian.
Awesome.
I talked to him for quite a while when I was down in California.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked with them all, so.
Very cool.
Good. Told them all the bad stuff.
Isn't that all there is?
The other thing, just to let you guys know, is in the last week I've been contacted by Juan Yebra. Juan Yebra was in the IFMR leadership last couple years. He was originally doing the editing. I don't know what happened and that fell apart. But he's contacted me. He wants to change clubs and join ours. So we might have a Mexico City guy joining us very
Awesome.
There's also a great gal in IFMR that is, what's her name? Letitia Parra. She used to be very active in Mexico, and then she would ride in the States and do a lot of the rides in Arizona and California.
cool.
Anybody else have anything? No?
I'll throw the last 2 cents. About the Laguna Seca thing, folks, drop me a line if you're interested so I can start to kind of wrap my head around that. It's going to take a little while because I've got finishing up this class here in a few weeks, but then I'll be able to start looking into that.
I can go, Scott, as long as it's not more than 3 weeks at a time.
I've got some life lessons to learn from you guys. Have been doing this for longer, I think.
Jerry, just tell her that it's
back-to-back 3-week trips. I'll get in trouble, I'm sure.
This too shall pass.
Just tell her you're the man of the house and you'll do what you want.
Oh, that's going to go real far.
Let me know how that works, would you?
Yeah, you put your foot down, she plants hers right on top of it.
You lose it.
What's it worth to us for us not to tell her that?
The good thing is I've joked like that around her all my life too, so I don't get in that much trouble.
Be
Although
careful.
when I'm in trouble, it's bad.
Be careful, Linda, because you might just play right into his hand of him pissing her off just the right amount, you know.
And then she'll send him out the door for months. No, where's he going to go?
Come visit.
You don't know where I'm going to be.
He's got lots of options, I think.
I think Argentina would be in his very immediate future.
Ooh.
Huh? If she kicks him out, he might just, she'll say, see ya.
That'd be a hell of a fascinating trip. I don't know if I'd be up to doing it alone, though.
Yeah, me either.
Who said that?
Me.
When we go.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Mexico. I just a little uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of that part of the world's a little bit upset.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you use the word American.
In his book, he said that in one stop, he pulled out his Texas driver's license and convinced the authorities that it was the country of Texas, so he could pass through.
I might have to go spend a week or two back in Canada and get back that accent.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we got a long way to go.
It's devolving. So does anybody have anything else they want to add to Keith's or share something or,
Yeah, Linda, while I'm thinking about it, seeing as how I'm the only person on the charter committee, I'd kind of like to get a green light to at least order the charter packet and maybe the coin. And if I got the green light to do that, I would need the exact name and spelling of all the 25, 26 members that would be on the charter certificates. Just a quick question at you.
Okay, we're going to have a quick board meeting after this, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
Fair?
Very good.
Anybody have anything else?
Just to say thank you, Keith. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, Keith.
Good job, Keith.
Thank you.
I still don't want a three-wheeler, though.
Thanks, Keith. Great presentation. I'm going to ring off. I've got some other stuff I got to attend to.
Harold, you're going to get old one day.
Yeah, I would show Jerry a
Let me know
picture.
when that comes.
I would show Jerry a picture of the Hobbit dog. She's now wanting to go out, so I'm going to be departing and take her out.
Sure it's not you?
Well, that might be a double trip. Hasta la vista.
Hasta luego.
Take care. Thanks
Bye,
a lot.
Tom. Bye, Tom.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope, quick board meeting.
Emilio, you ready to go back to Guatemala with me?
What?
I says, Emilio, you ready to go back to Guatemala with me?
No, be here.
I just got confirmed the dates. First trip last week of August, and then I've got a school tied up with us, so we'll be switching in 2020 to the first week of May for every week or every year thereafter.
Oh, May.
So this year it's going to be in August, and then right away 6 months later in May, or 8 months later.
For me.
I'm not hearing you, pal. I'll drop an
I got
email
this.
soon.
Yeah, email me because I have really bad connection.
Amanda's wanting to go too.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't know if any of you can hear me.
Poquito.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Not very good.
Yeah, you get a lot of feedback buzz there, Emilio.
All right. Who wants to volunteer for the four-way test?
I'll do it. The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And
will it be
beneficial to all concerned? All concerned.
And
will it be fun?
Very good.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. It's happy hour meeting. Bring your favorite beverage.
Sounds good. Have a great
Hey,
one.
one thing, you guys, since you're all regulars, after next week we should have the new connection set up, and so it'll be on a different Zoom meeting when we get that taken care of.
Okay.
You know,
But next week should be on the.
trying to have that done by the end of the month with an official account from our club.
Yep.
Good deal.
Look in the emails.
All right. See you next week.
All right.
Adios.
Good night.
All right, let's have that get board meeting.
Okay,
Ready, set, go.
Huh? Go?
Ready, set, go.
Timer? So that
Shut up
survey.
and record for the other meeting.
What?
Did you shut up and record in the other meeting?
Oh, crap.